Welcome to this special Eid transmission of Sports Extra. I'm your host Ali Gohar. Eid Mubarak everybody. I hope all of you out there are enjoying your Eid with your family and your loved ones. That's what Eid's all about. But it's also about giving back to those less fortunate. So it's a good time. It's a time to have fun, a time to enjoy yourself and relax. But it's also a time to reflect a little bit. So I'm very excited today because I've got three lovely guests here with me in the studio who've achieved a great deal. To my right, I have Colonel Retired Abdul Jabbar Bhatti Gohar. Eid Mubarak everybody. I hope all of you out there are enjoying your Eid with your family and your loved ones. That's what Eid's all about. But it's also about giving back to those less fortunate. So it's a good time. It's a time to have fun, a time to enjoy yourself and relax. But it's also a time to reflect a little bit. So I'm very excited today because I've got three lovely guests here with me in the studio who've achieved a great deal. To my right, I have Colonel Retired Abdul Jabbar Bhatti. Sir, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Eid Mubarak.
Thank you. Eid Mubarak to you also.
This man is a fantastic mountaineer and we can't wait to hear his stories. He has some fascinating stories. We can't wait to get to them. To my left, I have two guests. I have Ms. Iman Fayaz. Iman's a footballer, a fine footballer I hear. So we're going to ask her how she got into football and obviously what you do during Eid, how you spend your time. And finally, we also have Mr. Heather Daud, who's the head of Strawberry Sports Management. Heather, Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum Ali and Eid Mubarak.
Eid Mubarak to you too. Sir, I'm going to start with you. Before we get to your mountaineering and your fascinating career, what does Eid mean to you? And back in the day when you were younger, how did you celebrate Eid?
It's altogether different now. What we see now in developed areas and defense housing societies and like that, the areas. In fact, I belong to a village, and village life was altogether different. And you know, I used to be very excited as a child. Everybody around, and parents and elders, they would be supporting you in your enjoyment and everything. And before Eid, like much before, maybe 2 weeks like that, we'll start preparing. And the 2 Eids are naturally but different, although the both means happiness, enjoyment, but the two are different, a bit different. Like for Eid al-Fitr, during Ramzan we start preparations and we'll go to bazaar, and it was not like today that you go out for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you get everything. You have to go out for all the day. You are out, and even you have to buy the shoes, and you buy different things. Like you go for shoes, and you get cloth, and there was no idea of ready-made clothes in those days, my early days. And you had to get the cloth from the market and get it, come to, and in the villages, you know, there was only one family, one or two people who were stitching the clothes.
I just wanted to get your perspective because of course you're from a completely different generation, and it's just fascinating to hear what it was like back then, how differently.
And until end you are waiting that your clothes are not ready. And okay, you go to the, you come in the evening, you go to the, in the evening we say, okay, it's almost ready, but still. And you will get in the morning on the Eid.
Right. Iman, I'm going to move to you now. How do you usually celebrate Eid?
I do with my relatives, like we all gather, but it's like the charm of Eid, it's kind of gone now. Like when we were young, so we used to be excited about Eid, okay, it's coming and all. It was like, and the whole year it was like the most exciting event. But now it's like, I think whenever Eid comes, it's like, it's like considered as like kind of boring because it's
What
like,
happens when you get older, Iman?
I know, it gets
The
boring.
fascination kind of wears off.
It's
That's
like,
what adulthood does.
it's like if you get normally ready on any casual day and go out, you'll feel happy. But on Eid, it's like, you know, you want something very exciting going around, you know, like everyone happy and all. It's just everyone's busy in their lives now, and it's really hard to take time out for your family. So, but like on Eid, everyone gathers around somehow and they celebrate it. So that's good. I mean, it should happen once a year at least. Everyone should get to know each other, you know, spend time with each other.
Heather, what about you? What does Eid mean to you?
Yeah, I think this Eid is slightly different from the Eid al-Fitr. I think as kids, as growing up, I think it had the other charm that we were looking forward to the Eid, not in this one. But I think the way we celebrate a bit like it's like a congregation of all the loved ones, and you get to meet people. Other than the fact that on this Eid you get to spend some time, or your family members do, in these sacrificial activities and stuff. But I think it's the togetherness with the family and the loved ones, I think, which really stands out. And as growing up, I think on this Eid al-Azha, I think that never had sunk in, to be honest, as to what this is for. And I always thought this is about, you know, sacrificing the goat or cow or whatever. But as growing up now, I realize over a period of time, I think that this is a commemoration of the supreme sacrifice. So that has now started sinking in, that the rationale behind it. And I think it's also, just as you introduced this day, I think it's also very important now that I feel that we need to reflect and to give something back to the ones who are less fortunate.
Especially now, considering the
Yes.
challenging times that
Yeah,
we're in.
true, yeah.
Let's move on now. I mentioned you have a fascinating career, Colonel Saab, as a mountaineer. You've climbed peaks all over the world. But what I'd like to know, and I'd like to get straight to it, is your experience climbing Mount Everest. That must have been very, very special, but at the same time very challenging, climbing Mount Everest.
Yeah, of course, Everest is the highest.
Yeah.
And just going to the highest mountain and thinking of that is altogether different. In fact, mountains, wherever you go, mountain is a mountain. If you want to climb, I would say beyond 6,000 meters or beyond 7,000 meters like that, then things are altogether different. If you're at relatively lower altitude, it's different. Everest being the highest, it has all the challenges. So the difficulty of terrain is there, difficulty pertaining to weather is there, and physical challenges are there. Everything is there. And so the most, I would say that once you are on Everest and you go beyond, when you are on the final climb particularly, then you feel that you are away from the life. You are alone. Although there are people who are climbing in front of you, people are coming after you, but then you are totally away from the life and you are at your own.
I understand, and this is what I'd like to pick up on, and I hope I'm not putting you on the spot here. It's clearly a passion, climbing mountains, but at the same time, there are tremendous challenges, and we're talking about sacrifice. This is what Heather was talking about. We can see your hands.
Yeah.
If you can point them to the camera over here, just
Yeah,
so we could have a look. And that happened due to frostbite when you were coming on, when you were on your way down Mount Everest. Can you tell us a little bit about that and the fact that you're willing to sacrifice so much because of your passion?
Yeah, you can say the story of climbing Everest is with many people. There are thousands in number, but having a different experience on during climb is very rare. And this was very rare experience or very rare episode which happened to me. Basically, this was because of some mismanagement on the part of my tour operator. Number one, he was to give me a person who had no experience of that mountain, who was to accompany me as we say Sherpa, to respect, but technically it is your high altitude porter.
Right.
It was not a guide. It was being mountain guide is a different thing. But I asked for basically technically high altitude porter who could assist me in carrying my extra luggage. And at the end of the climb, the last portion, the only responsibility of that person was to carry extra oxygen for me, nothing else, because I used to carry my personal luggage on my own, like water, like food, like extra
But then a
clothing, emergency
mishap
clothing,
happened.
which he did not.
Yeah.
Which he did not. And supposedly I thought it maybe they have already dumped at upper place, but it was not there also, which I was not knowing. And there's a place where you change the oxygen cylinder. There he was carrying one extra for himself. He was supposed to carry one for himself, two for me, so three extra. One he is using, one I am using. Right, but he carried only one for himself, and when it came to change my oxygen cylinder, he changed with the one which he was using, and he changed with new for himself.
Right.
So that finished. That was supposed to bring me down, but that finished before I was on the
It's unbelievable. I mean, the way Colonel Saab is talking, Bhatti Saab is speaking, for younger people like us, Iman, I mean, just to think of he's climbing Mount Everest. I mean, literally climbing Mount Everest, and he's going through tremendous difficulty, tremendous challenge there. So these are also life lessons for young people. You're just starting out your life, your career, and from gentlemen like this talking the way he's talking, younger people can learn so much from his wisdom, that it's not always peaches and cream. There are tough times, and you have to be prepared for those hard knocks in life.
True. I just think it's really, I'm like, he's like kind of my role model now, because I always think, like, especially in Pakistan, we're not like taught in a way that, we can do a lot of big things in the world, We're just like taught the basic stuff, like, we get basic education and stuff. And like, for example, like in other countries, they, when their kids are growing up, they're telling them to go to universities like Harvard and Oxford, This is where, like big people come out from. And in Pakistan, it's just like, we're always taught the basic stuff. So it's like, that's how our mentality becomes, we're always thinking, like less of us. But it's just, I think Allah has given us a lot of willpower. And like, if he can climb the Mount Everest, I think in Pakistan there are so many more people who can do a lot if they're given a chance to. And even the females, when they go out, they do wonders. And I think it's just like, it's amazing how he's done so much,
I mean, these are lessons for all of us. It even says it in the Quran and the Bible, that God won't put a burden on you that you cannot bear.
True.
Right?
True.
Allah knows best.
He survived.
So these are lessons that we have to take seriously, because as younger people, right, although I'm sure we've all are going through our own difficulties, everybody is, but those hard knocks in life, we need to be prepared to take them. We need to be prepared, as you quite rightly said, Dawood, before, sacrifice and live with the consequences of that. And it makes you a stronger person in the end, doesn't it?
It does. It does. And I think building up from the inspirational story that Bhatti Saab was mentioning, I think we all have our moments where we start thinking beyond ourselves. I think from my perspective, I think we started off as, sports management. We still do that. And we still are with the elite sportsmen. I mean, the best of the various sports that we look at. And when we interacted with a sport which is considered very rural in its outlook, it's kabaddi.
Yes.
And we actually got up and close with the players and their lives itself. Did we realize that what hardship and what kind of lives they are actually living, in fact living right now? That I realized, and I think then it was a reset button in some ways for us really, that it's good to highlight these people who are the elite sportsmen of non-cricketing sports. But at the same times, how unfortunate would it be that out of a country of maybe 220 million plus, how many people of talent who are in the rural areas might just not get identified or have the means? So I think we sat down late last year before the corona set in, and started weaving a program, a long-term program, whereby we would highlight through setting up a chain of academies the talent which is really underneath the surface at the rural areas of Pakistan. So it's kind of our moment, so to speak, that it's not just what you take from people, it's actually also what you give to people, which stands out also, yeah.
Absolutely. And you were talking about top sportsmen in kabaddi.
Yeah.
I think sportsmen all over the country who are just starting out, especially if they come from humble backgrounds, it's very difficult. I'll just tell a very quick story that has just come to mind. You made me think of it. That I was talking to a cricketer once, a young cricketer. I won't take his name. So he was bowling in the PSL, and he didn't bowl that well. And I just said to him, young, 18, 19 years old, I said, tough luck. Tough luck. He looked at me, with tears in his eyes. He said, tough luck. I'm supporting a family of 7.
Gosh.
I am the sole earner of the house. My father gets only a certain amount of money. If I don't perform, my family's health and livelihood are at stake. So I think these are things we have to think about. Heather even mentioned that while it's a time to celebrate, you should also think about what people are going through, introspect a little bit. And I'm going to go back to Bhatti Saab here because he has a lot to share. He has a lot of experience and a lot of wisdom. And we already discussed the challenges you faced on Everest. So I want to talk to you about the importance of willpower. How important is that to carry on? Because life, as I said, it's not all easy. Even within your passion, which you were doing, you faced those challenges, life-threatening challenges. So in your opinion, sir, how do we deal with difficult times?
Yeah, you talk of willpower. In mountaineering, we say it is your will which will make you survive at the mountains. Will to survive. And that is true everywhere. Wherever there are challenges, if you are willing to combat those challenges, if you are willing to face those challenges, and accordingly you prepare, accordingly you act, and you are willing to go through, you will go through. Otherwise, if you, we were talking about fear, like even you start a business, sitting in the office, there are fears, fear of loss. There are challenges, and you are going to mountains, you are going out, there are challenges. Here it is in the mountains, life-threatening. I had been through like special service group, commandos, being a doctor also. So my whole life almost is like that. So I say, don't limit challenges. Challenge your limits to face the future challenges even coming ahead in future. You may unknown challenges there are there. So whenever you take any venture, you take up any project, you have to go through first. Of course, you have to go through what are the challenges, what are the prospects, what's the consequences, pros and cons you have to see. And accordingly, you have to prepare. And then be ready to face something which you have not catered for even.
Absolutely. And also if you have loved ones around you, if you're going through a difficult time or a challenge, you can always reach out to your support system, your loved ones. So I'd like to turn to you again, Iman. You're a young footballer. I believe you're 18 years old. Yeah. And when you're playing and you're going through a difficult time, it's quite easy. When you're doing well, it's easier. But when it's hard, that's when you really have to pick yourself up. So at the young age of 18, how do you think you deal with failure?
I think if you work hard, I mean, obviously if you, for example, there are times when we lose matches and, then like our coaches, they get, kind of sad as well. And, but it's like when we work, there are some days when we're winning tournaments as well. So it's not like if you lose once, you shouldn't just give up. And if you have like a family, who's supporting you with it, and friends, and it's like when you're in football, for example, I play football, where your team, they're like your family, and you all, it's like you play together, you eat together, and when you're in camp, you live together. So it's like you have a bond with them, and if you have any problems and stuff, you can share with them. They understand, and just like build each other up. So it really helps like that. Makes me happy.
When you talk to young athletes, Heather, you already touched upon that, but I'd like you to expound further. When they're down in the dumps, when they feel like they can't take the next step, or the next step is impossible to get to, how do you see them go through it? And when you talk to them, what do you tell them? How do you pick them up?
Yeah, I think no amount of logic would work for a person, I would say, not just the athlete, but throw anyone in a situation which seems very impossible. I think the discussion that we have had with these people are that they are very committed humans, men and women, and I think what really stands out is their resilience and the conversation that we have with them, that logically speaking there is nothing that could actually suit them, or there is nothing looking beyond it. But we just try to identify that is sports something that you were thrown in to choose as a career by your parents, or is that something which you think is worth fighting for? And more often than not, the answer comes that we have been passionate about sports right from the word go as we were children, and this is something we can't really live without. And I think that is the single most factor that we have seen to work, that when they realize that it is something that they can't live without, so naturally this is something worth fighting for, is that they themselves are empowered, rather than we telling them to do these things or that they come up with their own strategies, coping strategies. And yeah, life is tough.
But it's
Life
really
is
hard
tough.
to take sports as a career, because like other than cricket, for example, like having just only sports as a career is really hard. So that's why I think parents, they don't support their kid. Like, they want them to get educated first and, get a job and stuff, then focus on do whatever they want to. That's why, when like from the beginning, they never like emphasize on their kids to focus on, a particular sport. Like unless, I think unless you don't give a lot into it, you need a lot of training and stuff. So I say you should balance stuff. It's not like you should just be fully studying all the time and leave sports life and stuff just because you can't take it as a career. If you're passionate about it, I think you can balance both things at the same time.
Well, and it's harder for girls to get into sport.
It's really hard.
So it's admirable
because of the trust issues. It's like you need to build your parents' trust, because like the first tournament I played was in Lahore. I was just 12 at that time, and I had to convince my parents to let me go all the way to Lahore, even though I was just 12. But they did, and then we won, and I got the best player. So they knew, I have there's some talent in me, so I want to show it. So then it's like, if you make them proud, they are gonna let you do stuff. So and keep the trust.
Well, I'm going to say I was talking to Iman's mother backstage. You're lucky that you have a very, very supportive mother.
Supportive.
She's lovely, and you're lucky to have that support system. But Bhatti Saab, coming back to you now. This is a unique Eid show, by the way. We're talking more about struggle than anything else, because usually you see Eid shows, it's all about halla gulla, happiness, which it is, of course.
The whole year was like,
but you know what? I just feel like now with Bhatti Saab here, it's a bit like a therapy session. So because he's been, the things that he's been telling us, and we need to hear them. This is what we need to hear, because these are challenging times, and we can't ignore that. We have to face it. Sorry?
You can do anything if you want to.
Absolutely. So this is what I want to talk to him about. For younger people especially, you have a lot of advice to give. The importance of hard work, working hard. What is it that you just said earlier, challenging your limits?
Yeah.
Can you just explain the importance to young people of working hard, and how nothing in life comes easy? Can you explain that further?
Of course. If you want to excel in any type of career, any profession, any activity, you have to work hard. There are, I would say, there are three major contributors in the outcome. Number one is a God-gifted ability in your body, in your mind. Number two is your hard work. And then number three is your faith, ultimately. The hard work is in your hands. Whatever God has given you the ability to explore that, to use that, and to exploit that and then do hard work, that is in your hand and you must do that. If you don't do that, then you cannot curse the fate. Fate is at the end.
Can I ask you a question? What if someone turns to you, a young person like me or Iman for that matter, and because, you know, given everything that's going on, not just in the country but across the world, difficult times, very difficult times. So what would you say to a young person if they said, "Sir, Bhatti Sahab, I've lost my faith. I don't have it in me to fight anymore. I have no trust in myself." What would you tell them?
No, I would say if you lose faith in yourself, if you lose faith in what, you are finished. Life is finished. And that means, I would say that is death. You're finished. It's only if you want to live like active life. I would say active life. Active life is happy life.
Yeah, because you must have had, while you were climbing Everest and other mountains across the world, but mainly Everest was your Everest. It was your biggest challenge. How did you deal with, maybe I'll phrase it differently, how did you get over your moments of darkness?
Yeah, there are times when you feel that everything is over, you cannot do anything, and you feel like giving up. Like it has, I have felt quite times during my life, during expeditions, and two times I remember very clearly where I thought that time is over. Even during this expedition, Everest, there was a time when I thought that time is over. I cannot survive. All the indicators for survival, they finished. No oxygen, no time, no day is finished, it is night time, I cannot climb down, and there is no rescue coming up. So all the indicators which I could see, that those were over. And I thought, now it is time to die. Right? So I started waiting for my death. I just quietly, and after some time, I thought, so death is sure, but it is not coming. Why? So why I should act on that? I should finish myself. I put my hand in my pocket. I thought of taking out the knife and cutting my safety line. But at the same time, because my training, my thinking, all the career had been through adventure, through life and death games, so suddenly came to my mind, no, why I should die? If it is not the time, why I should die? And even killing myself, according to my belief, it is a sin. And it's a bigger sin, right? I should not annoy my God at this time, at this moment. And so then I said, no, I have to live.
Somehow
So
you found faith in yourself.
Yeah,
you found the will to live.
Yeah, believe in yourself and believe in your God. Yeah. And this will take you long.
This is why it's so important to listen and to be honest. To be honest and tell your story openly, and it helps you and it helps others to be going through this kind of a struggle. I mean, I can't, at the age of 32, who's lived a relatively cushy life, I can't even begin to imagine what that felt like. So for young people like us, this is why it's crucial to listen sometimes and just realize that, look, life is tough and there's a lot to prepare for.
I just think there's like so many things in this world to explore, you know, and most of us, we're just lazy. I mean, even if you look at one day, there are like 24 hours in one day, and we waste like most of the time just laying on bed or watching, you know, Netflix.
We're not
and
looking to improve
yeah,
our minds
we
or our
we're
bodies.
not creative enough to go out. And for example, even in Pakistan, there are so many places you can explore. The northern areas, they're so pretty, but there's so many people here, they're just lazy to go out. You know, this, it's like we've been given a life, we should do something. You know, we should make ourselves proud, we should make a change in the world as much as we can. We shouldn't just like waste our time on things that are irrelevant, you know. And it's like we have the willpower, we shouldn't just like be lazy and like, you know, like just live your life, you know, you have it in you, so just be happy.
Yeah, and always seek constant improvement. I mean, Eid can be,
and do new stuff, you know, like there's so much to do.
Eid can be what you want it to be. It can also be a time to set goals. Okay, after this Eid, this is what I'm going to achieve. I'm not going to waste 2 hours on like watching television or playing PlayStation or just sitting idle. I will do what I can
make
to
yourself proud,
improve.
Exactly.
Heather, this is why, again, why sports is so important. Because it teaches us, I know it's a bit of a cliche, but it's true. It teaches us so many life lessons. So even if you don't go on to become a cricketer or a footballer or a kabaddi player or even a mountaineer, these are, you'll always take those life lessons of victory, teamwork, defeat.
Yes.
It's so, and that's why it's so important that young people are encouraged to play sport, because you carry it through life. You take it with you.
Yeah, it's very crucial, I think. And if you look at Pakistan, by any stretch, I think we're a very young nation. I mean, 60% of Pakistan is under 30 years old. And so it's really important for us, the generation which is elder than them, to pass on that spirit through sports, because it's in the playground that you learn that with all the best skills, at times you go down because in a team sport, your teamwork wasn't really gelling well. So you also understand that what you call failure might be taken as a setback, and nothing in this world and life is static. You have another play, you have another day, and it is also important for them to learn, for all the kids to learn that in times like these, failure or setback is not just because of what you were doing. It's also a case of lifting others. It's also a case of if I'm not performing, the whole ship may sink. So these are the lessons I think you can learn at the playground. And as you said, it's very important that we do not take it as a zero-sum game, that encouraging sports is only for the kids to become sportsmen professionally. It does make you leader. It makes you a leader in terms of the decision making that Bhatti Saab was mentioning at the spur of that moment. When you take matters in your own hand and you take a decision, that's leadership, right? And so it's very important to do that. And as they say, I think you grow by the damage, not by the number of years you spend. So sports tells you that. It makes you grounded because you get defeated every other day. And you lift yourself up and you start moving again.
Just simply put, it builds character. And you need character if you want to go far and survive. No doubt about that. But Isab, let's talk about what you've seen now. We've talked in depth about Mount Everest. You've also climbed mountains in South America, I believe, in other places. Tell us about some of the most beautiful places you've seen in Pakistan or across the world, whatever comes to mind right now.
I would say, to me, any new place is having no match, is unique. Like you go to mountains, you go to any valley, it has a unique appearance, unique structure, unique terrain, and every place is, I would say, most beautiful. But if you, I can say about one place I have seen in my life. That is a place in northern area. It's near LOC. You go to Astor and Astor to Burjal Pass, cross Burjal Pass. Across the Burjal there is a valley. Like so Minimark, and then there is a place with the name of Domel. There are many Domels in mountain, but that is also called Domel.
It's called Domel.
It is Domel. Domel means where two rivers or two big nalas they meet. Right, but that place is known as Domel again. in my life, I have never seen a place more beautiful than
In
that.
Pakistan.
In Pakistan, yeah.
You touched upon it earlier. The northern
They're so
areas of
pretty,
Pakistan. There's so
exactly.
many beautiful places to see, and I know times are tough now, but to celebrate Eid, a lot of people go with their families. They go to the northern areas. They go to Murray, or maybe they travel somewhere else. I don't know. It's also important to when we can to get out with your loved ones and have a good time, because like I said, just to get away from the rigors of life. As I said, Eid can be many things, but it can also be a break to explore. What do you think?
I think this whole year, we've kind of been on a break from everything, and I think this is the best time when people can actually go explore Pakistan, because how the offices are closed and universities are not open. So this is the time when you can just go to the northern areas and explore with your family. So I think this is like the best time you can go. Other than that, life gets busy. Everything's going to open soon. Then you won't have time for this again.
What about you? When you were younger, or even recently, during Eid, have you ever traveled, taken on a whim, just taken your family somewhere? And what are some of the most beautiful places you've seen?
Yeah, during this time, I must confess, we haven't gone out of the city.
During this time, no, nobody. I don't think anybody has.
Yeah. No, but otherwise, I think Pakistan's north is extremely beautiful. But at the same time, there are certain areas in the plains that my children haven't been to. So I think I make it a point that we go out to some places like Faisalabad, even Lahore. Many kids go there, but they haven't really seen the Lahore, the Faisalabad. So if you just go out into the suburbs, into the fields and into the locals and interact with them. So what I try to do is wherever we go, just try and explore that city out of the hotels or out of the place of your relatives where you're putting up, and even ask them and request them to take you along. And so that you get to see the real city. The real city is not really where we go and we have good lunches and dinners and just come back. So you haven't really seen the city. So I think that's what we do. Whenever we go there, we ask the locals or our relatives and just take us around the city. The places that we never get to go by the tour operators or stuff. That bit is very fascinating. Yeah.
Right. Well, we're almost running out of time. I just wanted to ask you. You were talking about your footballing career and how you may want to balance that with university and then work later on. What are your plans? I know you're only 18, but as far as football is concerned, what are you thinking?
It's just when I was growing up, because I love football, so I used to tell my family that I want to play. So they were concerned, they used to go because I wanted to become a doctor as well. And they were if you want to become a doctor, then you can't play football. And if you want to become a footballer, then you can't become a doctor. Because they were it's so hard, okay? And I just think it wasn't, because I believe I can do both. I believe I have enough energy. I'm young. I have the energy. I can study as well and play sports at the same time. So that was one thing, everyone used to go, you can't do both things at the same time. And it's just, if you have belief in yourself, if you make a proper plan, if you want to do something, then you should make a plan and go with it. And I think you can do it. I played for Pakistan as well, and now I'm taking a gap year. I'm going to do medical next year, and inshallah I will, I will work hard. And if I get in, then it's all I ever wanted. So I think you can do it.
Bhatti Saab, I'm going to give you the final word, then we come to the end of the show. Because you told us such inspiring stories, any last final message you'd like to give us and the public about Eid and how we should be thinking going forward?
Yeah, I would repeat my words that don't limit challenges. Challenge your limits. It's if you start going after the things which are very customary, very common, you have to do some unusual. Iman is telling that she wants to become a doctor and she wants to become a footballer also. It's quite possible.
It is, exactly.
I am there.
That's why I'm saying you're my role model.
I am there. I am a doctor. I did my MBBS. Then I heard of special forces. I went through special forces course. I did that. I served there. I had already started mountaineering, and when I started going to mountains first time, I saw mountains of Potohad at the age of 22.
My God.
Right. That is my first time coming towards Pindi and Prabhat, right? So I would say that never what you call
Limit yourself.
be discouraged.
Yeah.
Believe in yourself. Believe in God, being Muslim, and just go after your dreams.
True.
Well, you know what? I never thought that this show would turn out like this, but I'm so glad that it did. It was fascinating talking to all of you. It was wonderful. Thank you very much for coming on the show, and Eid Mubarak.
Thank you very much.
That's all we have time for. Eid Mubarak, everybody. Enjoy yourselves. Bye-bye.